do it. Guys, here we have, like I was just telling the man, this is pretty cool. A guy that I used to play with in Madden. Kid you not, 13-year-old Fred made Marvin McNutt a 1,000-yard receiver in franchise mode. All jokes aside, man. Iowa Hawkeyes leading all-time receiver in yards and in touchdowns, and the Cocoa Hawks wide receiver coach, Marvin McNutt. Guys, let's give him a round of applause, man. Appreciate it, Marvin. Appreciate it, man.
No problem at all, man. No problem at all.
Well, I guess I'll just start straight to it. I'll try to work, I guess, my own notes here backwards. So you're a wide receiver coach.
Yes, yes. I actually just left that position. I have a couple other things kind of brewing. Started my own company. It's an NIL company. Um, NIL Sports and Entertainment Company that we are going to possibly like I say start helping out some of my young guys that are at the Hawks now. But also I have another 9 to 5 where I'm a turf specialist, and then I'm also training kids, and I'm like with my like my new business, I like use my business name as kind of like my on air. So I do like iHeartRadio after the games with the Hawks, and then I do KCRG on Iowa Live on Mondays as well.
That's pretty dope, man. Sounds like you're kind of just doing it all, huh? Just living the dream.
Got to, man. Got to figure it out, man, for the family.
Man. I got you. Well, I'm gonna take you way back. Just start from the very beginning and go down. You were a star percussionist back in middle school, huh?
Man, I have not even heard of that. Like they say, star percussionist. I had one performance in middle school where I loved to play the drums and held on to that forever. It's so funny that they say star percussionist, but I did. I used to play drums a little bit.
That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope, man. So you went to Hazelwood Central High. Is it Florissant? Florissant up in
Florissant.
Florissant up towards Missouri. Quick question: why didn't you go the Missouri route? I believe I read that they did offer you, right?
They did. So here's what happened with the Missouri route. All right, so and it's kind of how I felt. Like first off, they had a couple guys from my high school that went there previously. Kalen Grimes, this big 6'9" center, he had went to Mizzou to play basketball. I kind of, when I started getting into the recruiting process, Mizzou was probably one of the top 5 schools that offered me. It was like Indiana, Iowa, Mizzou, Wisconsin, Nebraska, and then like Louisville and Vanderbilt were really, really heavy. It's like Stanford too. Well, all of a sudden, I went down to Mizzou's like unofficial day, and I want to say it was, and I'm pretty sure he was like the top linebacker, one of the top linebackers in the country. Forget his name, but he went down to Mizzou for a visit, and his table was right next to mine. And so Coach Pinkel is going down and introducing himself to all the guys. He gets to this kid, and I mean, you would have thought that him and this kid would have been friends since they were like 3 years old, the way he embraced this kid. And right next to him was me. And all of a sudden, he kind of looks at me and he's like, hey, this is that quarterback from St. Louis that I was telling about. The quarterback's Coach Yost at the time had said. And he was like, yeah. And he just kind of gave me, oh, hey, how you doing? And kind of same thing with my dad. And I was kind of like, huh, okay.
It's the bad taste.
And like, that was really like the only interaction we had from him. And I'm thinking, like, at this point, I had already talked to Kirk Ferentz. I had already talked to all the head coaches of every school that I was talking to. And my dad and I kind of just looked at each other and was kind of like, man, you feel that? He was like, yeah. I was like, you know what? You feel it different certain places.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of always why I was like, yeah, no Mizzou.
I got you. I got you. Well, I mean, it obviously worked out pretty well for you, right? You went on to literally have chase greatness. Now you were a quarterback, obviously. You were in high school. I mean, you put up some pretty good numbers over, I believe it was 2,800 career passing yards, right at 28 touchdowns too. Was it a difficult transition going from quarterback to wide receiver? I mean, obviously,
absolutely,
you have to get in where you do fit in, but
absolutely, dude. So like wide receiver again, so kind of giving you my football story a little bit. I didn't play football like as a young kid. I didn't start playing football until I was a sophomore in high school, and always played basketball, baseball. One of my friends had died, and so he kind of always used to tell me, "Hey, Marv, you should go play football." So I went out for football. Um, so again, I got this big arm, this huge, love to throw it. I love to command things, be in control. Um, but never really understood the game of football like truly. Like so again, only had a few years of knowledge, two safeties high, one safety high. Well, my first couple of years at college, I mean, scout team, I would dominate, right? Anytime, like, hey, we do what you need. I'm an athlete, right? I create, we did things well. Never really got the chance because I was one of the young guys in the room. And mentally, I wasn't at the spot I needed to be to really control the helm the way Hawkeyes need you to do it, right? When coach asks you, hey, what the wheel is, how many in the box, what are you looking at here? It's like things just, it wasn't as second nature yet. Well, we had a whole lot of receivers get in trouble. And then all of a sudden we had a receivers coach come from Michigan, and he kind of looked at me and he kind of sized me up one day, and he kind of was like, "Hey, big fella, where you from?" I was like, "St. Louis." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "How tall are you?" I was like, "About 6'3", 6'4". He said, "Okay. Well, whenever you're ready to make some money, come talk to me." Right. So a couple weeks later, I get a call like, "Hey, come to the office. Coach O'Keefe wants to talk to you." I'm like, "Oh, like what we about to talk about, dude? We about to talk about grades. What are we gonna talk about?" He's like, "Hey, we're thinking about moving you wide receiver. We want to try you out. So you tell us kind of what you think." And I'm like, at this point, I was getting frustrated because I knew I'm one of the like a guy that can make a difference on our football team. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, but like I feel like I still want to do it at quarterback, but at the same time, like Rick is doing well, so I'm not, and like I don't know it like he knows it. Well, sure, I'm like, let's give this a try, dude. Next couple, like we get through the football season, I don't really get to play in this season, and then we go into the spring, and one of the other receivers gets in trouble, so then I have to take all his reps, and so now I'm the starter. We get to the season, this receiver gets in trouble again right before the season. I start the first game of the season, can make the first catch, first play. And then from that, it kind of just like, opened itself up and the story was
Three
written.
catches on that first drive. Actually, you opened it up. Hands here, huh? I got you, man. Hey, that's pretty dope, man. That's pretty dope. It's always that next man up mentality, right? And you
Got
just
to.
see took that and ran with it, man. Ran with it for sure. And I mean, even that year too, for your first year playing receiver, Division I, 34 catches for almost 700 yards and 8 touchdowns. And y'all won in the Orange Bowl against Georgia Tech 24-14. Now you were on like a team though, like 11 and
Yeah.
2, seventh in the nation. Did
Yeah.
that sort of contribute to obviously your own young success, but just being so successful in that certain year where it was your first year playing there,
It,
that sort of contributed to the whole long haul with it?
it did. I would say because it was what really happened was I got confidence in myself. Right. I got confidence to be like, hey dude, like I'm the fucking dude. You know what I mean? Like I'm that
I'm
guy.
him. I got you.
And I was only technically a sophomore on the football field. So I was like, and I'm feeling myself. I'm like, I can get into the end zone. Like that's what I do. Like I understand it. I'm gonna get into the end zone for us. And like then it was like, it's like surreal because you get into like all these big games, these big moments. The Michigan State catch happens. So it's this catch that everybody in Iowa still talks about when they see me, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
again, obviously just talk to my dog BJ. Shout out to all my Spartan dogs, him and
Shout out to BJ. Yo.
big fella Worthy, James and stuff. So, we had battles, man. But that day, I remember, dude, like it was yesterday. I was talking about like you talking about hard hitting, you talk about like on literally both sides of the ball. There's so many NFL players and guys that just dominated in the Big Ten. And so in that moment, it was crazy that my coach decided to say yes to me. We all talking in the huddle, like, hey, what can we do? What can we do? It's like I can win on the slant. And he all of a sudden kind of looked and heard me and goes, "What you say, Marv?" I was like, I can win on the slant. And I was like, dude been playing me outside twice. He gonna jump it. I'm gonna win on the slant. And so he called it up. He was like, all right, we're going to have Tony over here. Everybody's going to follow Tony. And he knew, he's like, he looked at Rick. He said, what blitz are they going to call? Rick was like, zero blitz. They bring in the house. And sure enough, slant happened, boom. And from that play, it really like gave me like confidence. And Soup started kind of feeding into that confidence, right? He started making me kind of like that you kind of had this bad boy, this like, hey man, we walk a different way. We talk a different way. You hold yourself at this level, at this, at this energy. And he kind of created that monster inside that I always kind of knew was there. I mean, because obviously playing basketball, like I would always get it. Like, so it was a lot of that for real.
And that catch was with no time left too. Like I can just imagine
Yeah, in the game.
that just environment must have been to kill. That's college football. Right there is like
Oh,
that's college football.
I tell you what, that Michigan State environment, and BJ Price says the same thing about that Hawkeye environment, that night game at Hawkeyes. But a night game there was so crazy for us because they had this thing, and I always tell everybody this, and they might even still do it. But that they would get on the screen, the 300s guy would get on the screen and he would go, Spartans, what is your profession? And the crowd would go, ow, ow, ow. And I mean, it was an all white. So they just going crazy. They had just did like a flea flicker for a touchdown. So it was like huge. And then or not a flea flicker, but a hook and ladder for a touchdown. And so, we getting late into this game. And again, we tried 3 times down there, didn't get it. And actually, I didn't even get to play until that drive. So that's the other thing. It's like I didn't have any other plays until that drive in the game, except one where I knocked down Micah Hyde's brother.
And y'all were teammates. I mean, you had some guys on that squad too. I mean, you got Raleigh Reef. He's still doing it. Brian Larder, probably Packers ring of fame guy. And then Adrian Claiborne too, who I'll never forget when he had 6 sacks on Dallas like 2
years ago.
Crazy, bro.
Crazy. I mean, it's so many guys. I mean, you got him, Mike Daniels, Micah Hyde, Sean Prater went to the league for a little bit. Morris Bevay was on that team. Pat Anger led the NFL in tackles one year.
He was on the Browns, right?
No, I believe he was on the Colts. Yep. And then I'm thinking about Julian Vandervelde and I mean, Christian Ballard, Mike Daniels. I mean, it's a lot of those guys, man. Tyler Sash, even Brett Greenwood. He was about to, he just got injured, but it's one of those things, man, that you start looking back and being like, man, the way we worked, man, we outworked people, and we got there.
That's dope, man. That's dope. And I mean, going up to the next season, 2010, you obviously went crazy there too, man. And y'all had some heartbreakers that season. Losing on national television to number 8 Ohio State by three points.
Hurt.
How was that night, man? And I mean, Ohio State team was.
There's two games that year that really, really hurt. The Wisconsin game.
That's where I
all of them. Arizona for me, because I had a pick 6 in that game. Even though I scored a touchdown, I had a pick 6, so I felt like it was mine. So
that's pretty dope. Yeah.
And that's when we played Nick Foles and those guys. The Wisconsin game, the punter, Brad, he ended up taking a fake punt middle of the field for like 30 yards. And all we needed to do was ice them out, and then they score the next couple plays. So they win. That was the J.J. Watt was playing, him and Adrian Claiborne going at it. You just hear their name all night. Mm-hmm. Well, then later next season, we play Ohio State. We have Terrell Pryor and Posey and all those guys, and we're about to win. Literally, 4th and 13, Terrell Pryor, Adrian comes, boom, he makes a miss. Carl Klug, another name that played for the Titans for a little bit, boom, he misses. Like all of a sudden, Christian Ballard, who runs a 4.6 as a big fella, 4.6, 4.7 track kid, all of a sudden starts chasing after him. You see Terrell Pryor get on his horse down the sideline for a first down. 2 plays later, they score in for a touchdown. We can't make it. We don't have a drive in. It's like we did the last couple. So it was a tough one, man. But again, you playing this high caliber football, man. That's what you want to be a part of, those types of games, man. That type of energy.
I mean, you can look back on that and tell your kids as kids, like, hey, whenever the lights was brightest, I was out there and it was fun. And that, obviously y'all were all competitors, but also going up to the league, you obviously develop friendships with these guys because
Yeah.
you're at the highest level. You definitely have some stories to tell, man,
Man, you got
for a
so
long
many.
time for sure, man. Then going up to 2011, that's just when you was like, you know what, I'm here,
Yeah.
I'm going, right? Just
Yeah.
absolutely nuts. First team all Big Ten, all time leader in receiving yards, touchdowns, yards in a season, all American, and the most important one, team captain.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
being a converted guy to going to team captain, just what's
Yeah.
that pride feel
It,
like to you?
man, you know what? It's one of those really really big honors. Like you say, for me, I was always like to say I always wanted to be that guy, and I always thought I was without even coach having to tell me. Like I felt it. I felt my guys and how we worked together, and like some of the energy that I helped to create in that sense. And then obviously your senior year when you are that team captain and you are a big team receiver of the year and you do break all these records and you're doing exactly what you kind of set out to do. It starts really hitting you like, hey man, that work that nobody knew you was putting in, it was worth it. That energy you was putting towards that being great, and understanding who you are, like you just had to focus on that, man, because you was him. So that's really really cool to look back on and like think about, and especially now, you're kind of like dang, I did do those things. That's crazy.
When you go back, I'm sure they just shower you with love, right? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
they're like, "Hey, y'all, right there, go Marvin," and they just go crazy, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely a great feeling to be in Hawkeye country. Especially in this time of year too. You have a lot of fun memories that you also think about, like aren't even always football related, where you talk about with your kids or like, yeah, it's the dorm I lived in and got a ticket right there type of thing. It's a fun memory.
That's pretty dope, man. Pretty dope. But just to go back to the season, it started off early, man. Tennessee Tech, 6 catches, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, an 88-yard touchdown too. Really just coming on to the
Yeah,
scene there. And it just seems like
yeah,
all year you were just doing it, right? 8 catches, 112 versus Pitt, 7 catches, 100 yards, 2 tutties versus Louisiana Monroe, 4 for 73 against Penn State, 6 for 87 against Northwestern. Did you know, like you knew inside your soul, like, hey, I'm gonna go pro?
yeah. Yeah, I knew the year before I almost went pro. So before we,
Okay.
I had that 861-yard season. I felt like I could have been 1,000-yard receiver then, and I felt like I wasn't targeted enough. Or I felt like, like, dude, I know what I am out here, and y'all ain't throwing me the ball enough. So like I was already like yearning for this. I remember talking to the guy before the season in his interview, and he asked me, he was like, "Hey, we know you're pretty close to getting the touchdown record, and from what you've kind of previously done, but it's like, you're pretty far away from some of these other ones." And I remember kind of giving him this look, kind of like you don't know what I'm about to do. Like I'm about to go crazy.
Mhm.
And so it was that like, okay, you putting in this work because I felt it like again, I'm playing against Micah Hyde and Sean Prater, who were also Big Ten um um what would you like all Big Ten team players. So and in that season, like I felt like neither one of them could even guard me in any one-on-one. So it's like if I'm beating them, I could beat anybody because they were two of like kind of most people that you
Iron
kind of
sharpens
get a
iron,
kid that
100%.
like Micah who can play the ball better than anybody, and you get a kid like Prater who just is constantly a little bug. It's like you figure out how to beat them and you figure out what your ways to win are. So it was definitely fun battles you have with those guys and creating and getting better.
That's pretty dope, man. That's pretty dope. And then you got invited to the combine. What was that experience like? Just being on that stage in front of the
That was
entire
the
world.
craziest. That was the craziest, crazy environment, feeling, experience you ever kind of go through. Like, and seeing it from like the true aspect of like what money does to football. Like you see it at the college level, when you're doing it, but you also see this in a sense of, this is the show, right? Everything is a show, right? Everything from like Nike tents to the Adidas tents to the Under Armour tents and the gifts that they just give you, the conversations people are having with you. You just randomly getting pulled by NFL coaches to go have a quick meeting. They see you, they find you, they have conversations with you. You're just randomly seeing all these top athletes from every type of build you could possibly think of, and you're wondering, like, again, you haven't seen all these guys. You don't know who all these guys are. No, you've seen some of them, right? Some of them I trained with, so I trained with RG3 and Brandon. Brandon Whedon and Isaiah P. Janoris Jenkins, Brandon Wagner, Bobby Wagner. I'm sorry, and so I trained with those guys, and then you also have the Senior Bowl stuff. So you're like, you playing in those environments and like Nike outfitting all y'all with like the new stuff they about to put on, and you're like, dang, like this stuff ain't even out yet. Like we about to like showcase this, and to see it on that level, it was something, because at Iowa, at the same time, like we were, getting all the food and treated very nicely, always had Nike stuff. But this was like, hey, you almost at like Oregon, and they testing out to see like, hey, people are coming at you with new shoes, cards, deals, etc. So it was a fun experience, man. And you worked your butt off, man, to get there. It's just like, it was just one of those things too. You're also tired, man. You be up till 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes having conversations, and then got to wake up and run or lift at 8 o'clock, or then go to the doctor, because again, I had shoulder surgery right before my senior season, so everybody wanted me to get an MRI on it, and so it was like I'm in the hospital for 2 hours trying to like figure this out, but they got times for everything. Boom, 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 and that. And what's funny, one of my dorm mate was Marvin Jones.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's pretty dope.
And me and Marvin had became.
And he's still doing it. Marvin just put up a great game. Yeah. What, 2 weeks ago? He had a crazy
Marvin the dog, man. Like honestly, Marvin had the right type of people around him, and he always kept going. And that attitude he was already like, Marvin was a good dude.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope. Now, obviously, me knowing you prior to this, I am like bleed green, diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan since I was like a kid.
Yeah.
Getting drafted to Philly, sits around 149th overall. You were there with like obviously some big guys. You were there with like LaShawn McCoy's in the room, and just all of these just legendary names. And obviously the big one, Big Red, Andy Reid. What was it like being around that guy?
Let me tell you, man. First off, it was the greatest, like one of those great feelings that you always hope for, you wish for in your life. Always appreciative to Andy and Howie for taking a chance on a kid from St. Louis. And I always tell them that, like, even though I, hated him for letting me go, Howie, but at the same time, it was one of those things that I got it, and I understood the business side of things and how things look, especially after being a coach, and you understand kind of how these guys think, and certain guys have their guys, right? They want their certain guys. So tell you this, I wish I could have gotten to play with Coach Reid longer, because I felt he knew that I was the type of guy that he wanted, right? He used to compare me to T.O. a lot in practice, right? I would do something. I remember catching a pass, sticking it, turning, running, beating a guy. And then he came back to him, was like, hey, come here. And so he came over. He's like, hey, just so you know, T.O. could do that in 2 steps. And I was like, all right, coach, challenge accepted, right? Like that was the energy that he was bringing with me. And like, me and Nick would make crazy plays at practice. Like our scout team days. I don't know if BJ told you when we were on that level, but man, we would just make some crazy catches and just be freaking killing every week. Have to line up as a new offense. You have Nnamdi Asomugha across from you, telling you every route you're about to run just based off your split. On the other side, you got Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie that's sitting over here telling you, hey, Jen, I'm gonna play this honest, and you better come at me with everything you got. Like if you don't come at me, I can't play well. And like then you got Kurt Coleman and the Nico Ryans, but then offensively, like what was really crazy is obviously I'm a lefty throwing as a quarterback. So coming out of high school, I'm getting compared to obviously Michael Vick. So my first practice, I run a comeback, boom, I catch the ball down here. All of a sudden I realize, man, I just caught a ball from Mike Vick. Like you know what I mean?
That's cool as shit, bro.
Man, that's crazy, right? So then not even like then all of a sudden, right, you get around it, and you get like, you get close with these dudes like Shady and Deion Lewis, and then like me and Riley Cooper, Jason Avant, Jeremy Macklin. Me and Jeremy, we kind of knew of each other because we played against each other in high school.
He went to Missouri, yeah.
Yeah, because his high school team, we met each other in the playoff when I took over, and then I took our team to state after that game. It's like we beat them to go to state, and then I threw for 300 yards in the state game, but lost because the other kid threw for 400 yards, and that's when all my offers start coming. Well, so then, um, but again, you got all these guys, and we're all sharing high school stories, and just become close, and it's one of those really really fun, really great things about the game of football is those relationships. And like I say, Coach Reed always, hey, go get a hamburger. But the other thing was tight too. I remember our season, Brian Dawkins was I don't know if he was retiring or whatever he had done. But he had came and spoke to us. And I remember like feeling like, man, if you can't feel that energy that he talked with and that this just don't make you want to go like crush somebody or like that Madden NFL, like, and you feel that thing beating in your chest, like that right there, like he truly gave that to us. And it was cool like experience, man. It was like for me, man, I was a young kid that didn't know too much about the game of football and about like how you're supposed to work. And it's got to be, hey, all the time. These guys doing it all the time. You got to understand it. And it was like you kind of wanted to take a break after college, but realized you shouldn't. So it was fun, man. We had a good time.
And it's nuts. You're only 6 years into playing football at that point.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That Brian Dawkins, can you feel that? I'm in sales, this very big motivational thing. I played that video last day of every single month, man. That guy really is like, once I get Brian Dawkins on this laptop, I'll probably stop doing it, man. That's my goal. I'll probably cry. He was like, in my house, you got God and you got Brian Dawkins
I feel
behind
it.
them,
I feel it. Yes.
That's the guy, man. And then obviously after Philly, you were with the Panthers.
Yeah.
Obviously a pretty big change of
man.
How was it like playing in Charlotte?
Man, it was fun, man. Honestly, so I actually went down to Miami first for a little bit, and I was down there with Ryan Tannehill, Matt Moore, Mike Wallace, and those guys. And I have really loved those guys, man. Brandon Gibson, Rashard Matthews, Brian Timms. So I got some really go Brian Hartline. You know what I mean? Like made some really cool friends, man. And then we ended up, like I say, I ended up getting moved to Charlotte when I didn't make the 53, which was a crazy scenario. I'll tell you, I hate the business of the football because I'm the fifth receiver, and me and Brian Timms are 5 and 6. And I had just scored a game-winning touchdown in this preseason game. My agent calls me saying, hey, I got Nike on the line. I got so-and-so on the line. Once you make the 53, we good. After what you did in the preseason at Miami, I had like 7 catches for 140 yards and a touchdown. And so, like, I'm just like thriving in Miami. I'm playing the A, the X, the Z. I'm also going to quarterback rooms for like the backup QB if things go crazy, right? So, like basically, I get a call from my agent like, "Hey, Mar, they only going 4 receivers." I go, "What does that mean?" Right? Like, so they want you to go to practice squad, and I'm fired up. So the next freaking 3 weeks, I'm going at everybody on every route. I'm dominating everything. Brian Timms are working harder than everybody on the team so much that coach had to stop us from doing the extra running that the practice squad would normally have to do because we ran like 20 miles one week. Damn. And so he ended up getting a call saying like, hey, Carolina wants you. And I go up to talk to Jeff Ireland, and I'm like, hey, my agent's like, hey, if you want to stay in Miami, because I did. I was like, Cameron Wake and all those guys, like, man, I felt like it was something brewing there, right? I felt like I was about to be the Jarvis Landry of that situation. And then all of a sudden the next year, Jarvis is there. But like, he's like, hey, Carolina wants you. You can go now, or you can tell your Miami to pay you. If you tell them to pay you, they got to pay you active roster checks. And so I went up to him and was like, hey, if you give me active roster money, I'll stay. If not, I got to go to Carolina. He was like, Marvin, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. And sure enough, I was in freaking Carolina that next 3 hours and going to the training facility, playing with Cam, Steve Smith, Ted Ginn, my dog Brandon LaFell, Tavares King, so Brenton Burson, and then like you got Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis.
That defense was
You know what
crazy.
I mean? Like, and all those guys, man, it was crazy. So the day I get there, they were 1-3, I believe or 1-2. They had just lost to Seattle. And so there's people was kind of tanking on their season. Well, sure enough, we go on a 9-game win streak and uh win the division. So win the NFC South. Then we get to the playoff game. And I played in the NFC South game versus Atlanta, almost had a touchdown. My foot went out of bounds on the catch, like this much. Well, sure enough, like I'm about to play in the playoff game versus San Fran. What happened was Steve Smith, though, was still kind of back and forth with his injury because he had gotten injured the week before. That's the reason I played in Atlanta. And he was good to go. And I want to say first, second quarter, he ended up getting injured. And so then, but in that time, coach had already put me off and didn't play me. So I was just a active roster, inactive guy. Didn't play in the game, and we had 4 receivers playing basically a lot of 4 wide during that game.
Man, it like you said, just the honesty in the game of football is brutal, huh? Like it is
Oh
just
man, it is, but it's one of those things you learn from it, man, and you learn how it's the world, man. It's so brutal though. People don't realize too, like that how brutal it is, and how you gotta keep chucking and keep going in it, and keep talking to yourself. It's a mental game that you got to keep beating yourself with.
that's a and then you had a short stop up in Washington too.
Yeah. So I got to play again with I was during the RG3 and Kirk Cousins kind of takeover. Kind of was happening. RG3 wasn't always as healthy, but again, got to play with, man. Everywhere I went, man, they had some really Hall of Fame worthy wide receivers, Pierre, and Dante Hall, or not Dante Hall. I'm sorry, Santana Moss. There we go.
Santana Moss, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So real cool dudes, man. I got everywhere I was at, man. There's some Hall of Fame guys in that group.
And you had like Alfred Morris was on that team too.
Yeah, yeah.
Was D'Angelo Hall still playing at that point? I know that was at the
D'Angelo was
latter
with
end
me
of his
in
career.
in Carolina.
Okay. Fair
Yeah.
enough, man.
Oh, I'm sorry, D'Angelo Williams. What's the corner?
Yeah, that's D'Angelo Hall, the one that just got took by DeAndre Hopkins in training camp, man. That video
Yeah. So
forever,
he
bro.
was on that squad.
He said,
Um,
I fear God, homie.
yeah,
Ding! Popped
yeah,
his stuff. Oh, that was crazy.
yeah,
Well, that's pretty dope. I mean, you definitely just had the full experience, and still, I mean, at that point, you're like 8 years into playing football, and just with,
yeah,
like you said, just in the room with just Hall of Fame guys, Ring of Honor guys, really
yeah.
just greats of the game of football. That's nuts, man.
Oh yeah, Deshaun Jackson. I can't leave my dog D-Jack
Oh,
out.
DJ, hey, my
Yeah,
mom's license plate was Eagles 10 forever.
yeah,
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 man. You had a pretty quick turnaround. You went to coach the Cedar Rapids Titans.
yes,
How did something
yeah.
like that come about?
Man, I was in town doing an appearance and they needed help with some football. I wanted to get back into it. The job I was doing at the time was just slow for me. And I was kind of just back here and I was like, man, I want to get back into it. And I just saw it as an opportunity to get into some coaching. I wanted to see if I had what it took. And come to find out it was tough, man, because I had all the jobs basically in that situation of it was a small market, things weren't great, and we had to just figure things out. And so you kind of figured it out in that league, and but it was fun, man. I love those guys, man. We had some receivers that did really, really well, obviously. Some of my tutelage. But yeah, it was a fun time, man.
That's dope. And then you got put up to GM.
Yes.
What was that? Which I mean, obviously, like you said, it's a small market. I guess with you running kind of everything, weren't you like already the GM pretty much? I mean, like,
Basically.
yeah.
It was
Well,
basically, yeah.
and then you went down and then you got with the co-ops.
Yes.
You had a guy up there, Dominic Shepardson, dog,
Yep.
huh?
Dom,
Dog.
dog. He, I don't know. I haven't kept up on the season. I know he was having a good year early in the season. He was D3 player of the week on offense. And that whole group, man, I'll tell you what, there's gonna be a few kids in that name. I think Zamari Bruce will be a name that everybody might know soon. Depending upon how much he continues to grow, because right now he's doing a great job. So
That's pretty dope, man. Pretty dope. Y'all heard it here first. Y'all heard it here first. Well, the boys are starting off strong though. They are 4-1, and they got Cornell College this upcoming weekend. So for any of my D3 guys, which I was D2 myself, listen, but I wasn't going pro. They told me I was too small, and I was like 6'1", 280, and I was a baby. I was the smallest in the room. It was nuts. But I got roughly 2 minutes left, Marvin, before this free Zoom time runs out, man. So I do just want to really appreciate the time. This is just cool, man. Just getting to talk to
Hey,
guys
absolutely.
that literally I used in Madden. That's just lets me know I'm going into the right direction, man. Definitely appreciate your
Yes, sir.
time.
Yes, sir.
For you all that don't know, he has 5 kids and he had to buy him popsicles just to free him up some time with that too. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna throw you a quick tap up, man. I
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
appreciate the time, and I
Absolutely.
will be in touch, man. I plan to
Absolutely.
get some more stuff done. So, guys, this has been football legend Marvin McNutt on Fresh Off the Clock.
Peace.
Appreciate it, Marvin.